Thanks for stopping by Big Top Gaming. My name's Brian.
And I'm Ethan.
And it's been 6 weeks since you looked at me. Is that the song?
No, we played a couple weeks ago. We just didn't finish.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. So it's been a while since we've at least posted a video or anything like that. I know that many of you who probably follow the channel have been seeing a lot of A Song of Ice and Fire stuff being posted lately. That's because there's been a huge thawing of content coming out for it, so it's been really exciting to talk about, but it doesn't mean that I'm leaving Warmachine behind by any means. It's just that Ethan and I haven't had a real good opportunity to connect to play, but now we do, and we're back with a Brawl Machine game, even though I didn't put it on the thumbnail, and I'm probably not going to fix it. So we're going to go into the lists for this Cygnar versus Convergence battle report. So for my list, I brought a 2-list pairing with this one. I think we haven't done a 2-list pairing for Brawl Machine in a really long time, but this time we decided to go for it. The list that I'm not playing was a Connie B list, or Constance Blaze, and it was in Flames. It was a very typical standard Flames list with, typical for me at least in Brawl Machine, where I bring a full unit of Legion, the pieces to support it, and then Gallant and a Lancer with her so we can go ahead and Sunhammer till the cows come home. But the list that I decided to drop for this one was Captain Jeremiah Kraye in Trencher something? Gravediggers.
Gravediggers.
I couldn't even remember the name of the theme. So this is the first time I've ever played Gravediggers, and I've always been really excited to try and play Trenchers because coming from the thick Khador background that I came from, Trenchers always were something I was interested in messing with because they just felt like they were so much more efficient than Winter Guard were, but unfortunately, I'm kind of doing the combined arms thing instead of a lot of Trencher things. So when we look at the list, I've got a Lancer, an Ironclad, and a Hammersmith sitting in Kraye's battle group, and then I've brought a Patrol Dog, Anastasia di Bray, a Trencher Master Gunner, and then a Trencher Express team with Captain Karli, and the Express team is my requisition, and then I have the tiny unit of Trencher Combat Engineers, and then my specialists are Trench Buster and then a min unit of Trencher Infantry. Essentially, I'm really going to be using a lot of the Trencher pieces in the main list, at least, to just kind of put out a lot of shots between Karli, the Express team, and the Master Gunner. And then mostly we're going to try and make sure that we can draw the line of battle so that my Jacks can get in later on. It's just a really fun list that kind of combines those two. I've got a little bit of a transformation that can happen in the specialists with the Trench Buster and Trencher Infantry package by pulling out a lot of stuff, but we'll see how that goes as the game progresses.
This week I'm playing Locke in Convergence. I had this paired with a Orion list, which is similar to a 75-point list I played before, with a bunch of shooting, some cool stuff, but I really, really wanted to play Locke just because she was one of my favorite Convergence casters for a long time. So I'm playing in Clockwork Legions just to get some infantry and free lights. So I have a rec option of a Corollary, and then battle group of Inverter, Assimilator, Mitigator, and then I have an ADO, a Locus, Optifex Directive, and a unit of Negation Angels just for scenario. And then my sideboard is a Void Archon and a Diffuser. So I figured I can swap around my free lights, or I can swap out the Mitigator for a Diffuser if I need some extra threat ranges. And then if I need Grievous or some more armor cracking, I can swap in the Void. And the Void Archon is in the sideboard because it doesn't trigger Road to War because it's not friendly faction, because only in Strange Bedfellows, which always annoys me. So yeah, just gonna rock Locke and see how it goes.
All right, so with Anastasia di Bray and I think Gravediggers have a reroll to go first. I don't think so. I don't think that's one of the themes. Yeah, it is. So that's how that works.
Yeah, so you had an 86% chance to go first?
Yep, I sure did. So that's probably one of the more bonker things to have in Brawl Machine, is the ability to go first like that, being able to get that +1 and reroll. It's good in regular War Machine, but in Brawl Machine it seems like it's pretty backbreaking. And full disclosure, this game is a little bit older, this particular one, so we might struggle with it a little bit here and there, but the rest of the subsequent games are more current. But you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Since I have turn 1, I'm being super duper aggressive and running my Hammersmith that's actually being, it's actually a Centurion right now because I don't have my Hammersmith built, and why would you ever want to build one unless you were playing this type of list? But just kind of slamming up the middle of the table to get ready for next turn.
So my bottom of 1, I have to really respect his shooting for top of 2, because like with the Master Gunner and Karli, he can triple tap his stupid weapon crew. So, and I believe I couldn't even deploy my Angels max distance. They had to be back a little bit because his shooting threat reached my AD line, top of 1. So I'm just running up. Here I run an Angel up behind cover, and I forget that Karli gives the unit Hunter. And I'm just hiding the rest behind the forest so they can be a contest piece for his flag. Because I don't really have anything else that reaches out and touches his flag. And I'm just deciding what spells to put up, because I'm putting Redline on the Inverter, Road to War on myself, and I'm like, can I afford to put Sentry out there? Or do I risk dying if I take a couple shots? And eventually I just decide to say, screw it, and put it up. And I'm running my jacks up, and now here I'm basically asking how far is his threat ranges with feet, because his feet gives beacon, Iron Horse for +3, so basically his jacks go an extra 5 inches on feet, so I have to back up a little bit. And I'm going to be using the Optifex base to base behind my jacks to try and stop them from getting thunderbolted out of the zone, because the unit's really strong in Brawl, just pushing my stuff around.
So going into turn 2, I was hoping to try and connect somehow with Ethan's stuff, but he has given me very few options to be able to work with. I do believe he forgot about Anastasia di Bray, and I figured that this was a good chance to try and get that Frustum off the flag, because then he's run out of things that can actually really deal with her well. Like your small infantry units and things like that aren't really that great at dealing with someone with that kind of defense. So I believe when I went into the Frustum, I left it on maybe 2 boxes or something like that, because I forgot that it had 10.
Yeah, I think you left it on 5, because your dice minus 9,
Yeah.
and it has 10 boxes. Like, you forgot how tanky it is.
Yeah, it is tanky. It is
because I did forget about Anastasia.
Yeah, it was rough, but now it's back there, and I'm at least contesting the flag, even though it's not going to do a whole lot right now since I had the top of the turn. On the bottom edge of the board, you kind of saw me kind of flex a little bit of Kraye's breakout warjack speed. I had the charger just kind of go after the angel that was behind that wall, and with it being cavalry, it means that it gets an automatic boost to its melee attack, and we were able to charge over the wall with Pathfinder, kill the angel, and then reposition it back behind the wall so that I don't really lose anything for that. I think we took a couple shots with the Trencher Express team just to try and put some damage and push some things around out of position on Ethan's back edge. I don't think we did a whole lot of crazy work with those, but it's nice to be able to get those shots out where you can. Up there, I tried to get Kraye to shoot into the Frustum to take it out, but with being engaged and in cover, that was not going to happen.
Yeah, and you were still dice minus 8 on the shots.
Yeah, it was
minus 7.
It was a little bit of a Hail Mary for me because I really did want to get that piece out of there. And, with Kraye being as fast as he is and having that Repo 5 on him, I wasn't too worried about putting him in a awkward space. So now we're just... I think right now I'm just kind of going through and figuring my rules out because, like I said, this isn't a faction that I play very often. I wish I played Cygnar more, but no, now we're getting to the Express team, so probably just checking some numbers there and then pushing your Inverter out. And it's funny because, like, I think over the course of this game, I knocked down the Inverter many times on crits, but it doesn't matter anyways.
Yep, because it's steady.
So now I just need to make sure that my models are getting in the zone, but kind of staying a little bit out of threat or trying to mitigate the threat from Ethan a little bit. I don't mind kind of starting the peace trade asymmetrically just because I do have like the trencher team that's going to get a lot of work done. And if he does come into one of my jacks, he's going to need to make sure that like things like Redline and Jackhammer are used in order to make sure that he can take them out. Cygnar jacks aren't well known for their durability, but Ethan's mat isn't really that great, and he's going to need to do a lot to try and hit average.
Brian did leave his jacks really close together, so I could go for a bunch of jackhammer attacks, but then I'm like, well, Kraye didn't exactly go that far, so I'm like, if I run my 10 inches forward and then I rode to war 3 inches more, I can get 1 inch melee to Kraye. The only problem is it's with the non-redlined jack. Otherwise, this would be even easier, and I'd have to eat a free strike based on his placement, but I'm like, okay, as long as he doesn't take out the arm, I can do this, and I just need to basically kill one trencher or anything on the table, and this plan will work. So I'm debating, is this worth it to try, or should I go for just trying to jackhammer and kill his battle group in the middle and then try and push scenario? So I opt to start with the Frustum, who has to turn around, boost a shot with Gunfighter into Anastasia and kills her. So now I get my Road to War move, so I'm like, okay, well now this is happening. So I've moved my 3 inches, and then still like in the thought process of how am I going to make this work. I'm doing some cute stuff with the Corollary, giving focus to the Inverter just in case things go wrong. And then I'm just trying to plan out, I believe the ADO did some healing, or not ADO, the Optifex healed because his shots did a lot of damage to my jacks. So there I'm doing the run.
Yeah, the free strike didn't do a whole lot of work to you.
It took out my induction node, so like now I'm all in on this.
Oh, maybe I didn't see the dice roll then. I saw your damage, and I did take out 2 columns, so that must have been 12 damage to that jack.
Yeah, it hurt a lot. At dice -1, you rolled pretty well. Angels move up, just took a couple shots. I believe they shot your solo off the flag. So now, like, things
the dog. You shot the poor dog.
Yep. So now here I'm going with the jackhammer assassination. Or no, I'm doing the Inverter first. Just to try and punch his jack and soften some stuff up.
Yeah, it's good to have that, like, that contingency plan in case this doesn't work out for you. Because Kraye's stats are pretty decent. I think he is, what, a 15, 16 or something like that. He's a beefy little boy.
But I cast Engine of Destruction for 2, and now I'm jackhammering. So I have 5 jackhammers needing 6s to hit at Mat 9. I miss 4 of them.
Yeah, so this assassination run kind of was dead in the water.
And then one of them I rolled really, really bad. And I believe you were camping 2? Or
camping two
1.
or 0, I can't remember.
I think you were camping 0 because you went all in.
Yeah, that makes sense. So by the skin of my teeth, I have survived, and not so much that I don't have a lot of boxes left or anything, but Ethan really did kind of poop the bed with the with the jackhammer rolls there. So now I just have to try and figure out how to deal with all these other vectors that are in my face. Unfortunately, my Hammersmith did take a decent amount of damage, and my Trencher Engineers, I was being a little bit more coy with them, but they're not close enough to actually walk up and repair. I think maybe one of them might be able to make it, but I'm not 100% sure. So this time I end up using my my Ironclad to walk to the back of the Assimilator. Why couldn't I think of his name? But I get a little bit further in the back arc so that I can go into him, and then I do some damage to the Optifex Directive, and then I do a repo move to kind of get a little bit more threatening on Locke. So now she's sitting there about 6 inches away from an Ironclad who is pretty healthy, all things considered, and that's a little bit, of a different position than from what Ethan was in last game, where he was kind of poised to take out my caster or my battle group, and then not really have any retribution after that. But now he's under some pressure there. So I have the Hammersmith beaten on this inverter, and he's just kind of sliding back. I think, Ethan, you might have feeded last turn, so now you have quite a few tokens on him, so the Hammersmith isn't really doing a ton of damage to this guy. It's just a couple points here and there. You can see a lot of times I don't even get to finish like a whole column. So you know, that's just the way Locke's feat works, and especially with the defensive stat on that inverter, you eventually end up getting to a point where it's getting a little hard to hit. So I think there were a couple that I ended up missing, and then we take some aimed shots into that inverter as well, just to try and do some more work to it. And you can see we're thunderbolting it back further and further, trying to just kind of put some more control on that middle of the table. So I think we're still putting a few points of damage in that inverter as we're pushing them back. Some of the hits are not so amazing, but we've definitely probably moved that. What would you say, Ethan? Maybe 5 inches back further now?
Between the beatbacks and your 2 pushes, I think you moved it 6 inches.
Which doesn't matter a whole lot for Locke because you've got Road to War and Redline to kind of make him threat a little deeper, but still being able to just kind of open up the middle feels nice at least.
Yeah, and you've thunderbolted them out of the rectangle, and now you're doing it again to the Mitigator.
Yep. So Thunderbolt is just or the Trencher Express team in general there, Thunderbolt is pretty accurate and is really good in something like Brawl Machine where you need to kind of put influence in a lot of other places. You might not always have the tools that you need to take something out of a zone completely, like in terms of just ripping it off the table. But with Thunderbolt, you're able to push those things out to where it's a little more easy to, you know, mitigate them. Like with not to be punny, but the Mitigator here is getting charged by a Lancer, and the Lancer just doesn't quite come up with enough to get rid of it. I don't think. I think maybe we get close.
It barely survives.
So this is where that Thunderbolt came in handy, because normally you just kind of say, well, I'm going to just have that Lancer go in and take care of it. But it came up short, and it doesn't matter because I'm got that middle zone clear. And now I took... I'm just trying to make sure that Kraye is a little more safe. I think we moved him off the side of the table to try and do something somewhere, maybe?
You shot the Locus off the...
Oh, yeah, then I missed it then.
Yeah, losing my Assimilator on a failed assassination run is rough because now I'm losing the heavy trade. My heavy got 3 tokens from his heavy killing the Assimilator, so like it's pretty tanky, it survived, but it's still half dead. So basically I needed to pull the work of 3 jacks because my Mitigator is almost dead, and like I need to clear it off if I want to have a chance of reaching that back infantry and taking repair off the table. So like I go deep into the tank with Locke, so I'm trying to figure out I need to allocate focus just to get enough focus jumping around. I need to like Engine of Destruction. If I don't cast Engine of Destruction, I'm only map 5 on my jacks. So like now his casual def 12 stuff actually needs 7s to hit, which is really, really rough. So now I need to make sure I have enough focus going around. The Corollary activates, kicks a focus over to the big guy. And now I'm going in on the Hammersmith. The Hammersmith took some damage last turn. I missed the Macro Pummeler. So now you could see I boosted it just because I did not want to miss. Because when you miss your single shot weapon, it's a very, very sad time. And you can see his grid with Precision Strike. I'm able to basically pick an arm and cripple it. And now I'm going through the motions. And I believe here's when I'm trying to decide if should I boost or not. So I was able to buy attacks and go through. And I take my red line damage.
Yeah, losing the Hammersmith in the middle, like I didn't expect him to survive through any of that. I just was trying to use him to get some extra damage on that inverter, and I knew that with the inverter there going after the Hammersmith, it was likely that my Ironclad was going to survive, but now it seems like you've got some tricks up your sleeve to try and deal with that.
I mean, I have Locke right now, and I believe I'm debating on where to road toward the inverter for jackhammers, because I would really like to clear off the mitigator, but I really need to deal with this Hammersmith.
The Ironclad.
Ironclad. I really need to deal with the Ironclad because it's right in front of my face, and I'm pretty sure it's full health.
Yeah, it hasn't taken any damage yet this game, and maybe it was a mistake for me to try and put him where I'd put him after seeing where my Hammersmith was. That's kind of like the theme of this game, it seems, is that I always seem to kind of hand you my jacks with the Road to War moves. But you're doing something with your Angels up here, so maybe the Road to War... Maybe something got activated out of order and you forgot to Road to War.
I believe maybe I did forget to Road to War after I killed the Jack. So now I had to do the Angels, and they got a kill, and was able to let my Jack move over.
Which I think gives you reach on the Ironclad now.
Yes.
And you're outside of the forest, so there's very little retribution that can be had while you're going into the Ironclad now.
Mm-hmm. And now I'm just jackhammering away, trying to clear out some stuff.
Yep, and there's not much that I have in my list in terms of making these things survivable. You know, the Cygnar jacks are really middle of the road everything. They've got a decent mat for the most part, but their defense is in that 12 range or lower, and their armor is 18 or maybe a little bit higher. So the Ironclad goes down not easily. I think you got to a point where you were jackhammering past where you were comfortable for surviving, so you decided to have Locke come in and charge him with Engine of Destruction to finish him off.
Yep.
So going into turn 4, there are two things that I don't have a whole lot of: models and time. When I was shooting this video, I thought I had it lined up to be able to catch the clock for you all, but unfortunately the resolution that I recorded in kind of clipped it off. So I think at the current turn, or at the current point in the turn, I'm sitting somewhere maybe like sub 2 minutes or something like that. It's not really good for me. I feel like I spent a lot of time trying to get some things to work. So I decide to just be as active as I can be, and I move the Trencher combat engineers into the middle of the table to start shooting things. They might put a little bit of damage on some things here and there. I think they might have been going after the Angels. Maybe it was their hope to try and kill them so that Karli could go do something different, but that wasn't the case. So she decides to use her shot on the Angels and gets one. And at least I think this is the Angels that we're going into. Yeah. So we get the Angel, and then I believe she wasn't close enough to clip the other Angel with the blast damage. So now we're using the Gunner, and he pushes back this Inverter again. Maybe I just was like, I don't really care too much about this lone Angel out here. I think Kraye is probably the one who's going to go over there and try and deal with it. So he hits and rips her off the table and then repos back to the flag. I probably have like 3 seconds left.
So I know Brian's low on clock, but he's currently up on CPs, so I actually have to clear stuff and actually have to start scoring. I have no solos left that can get to my flag besides Locke, but she would have to run. And I'm also getting low on clock, so I need to clear the middle. So there I'm going up with red line, just walking my 6 inches, and then I'm starting to take some attacks and try and finally clear off the Mitigator.
Yeah, and I think the Mitigator I left alive with the Charger because I just didn't have the time to actually put work into it. And it wasn't in control, so it didn't have focus.
Yep. So there I kill. I Road to War over just to block line of sight with the woods, just so he doesn't get a cheeky thing onto Locke. Puncher Trencher. It tanks. Lets the Mitigator move up into aim range on the next one. Hits. And then because a Quake kills, now I'm scoring the middle and the circle zone. Basically at this point, I have to choose the circle or the flag because I don't have any units left. And Locke goes up, repairs the Inverter, and just basically camps 7 or camp 6.
So coming over to my turn 5, there's not, maybe this is probably where I just end up clocking, or maybe I just activate Kraye and go for it. I just say I'm going to get on this flag, and then that way you've got to, I can at least say I scored something. But I do lose this game on clock, and it was a really swingy, attrition-y game back and forth, but a fun one nonetheless. So now we'll get ready to go into game 2. So going into game 2, I decide to really switch up my list a little bit here. The engineers were fine, and I probably could have played them a little more forward to make sure they would repair jacks and maybe get them to survive a little bit. But based on the way that the scenario is set up, I decide to pull out Anastasia di Bray because I don't need her right now, and the patrol dog. And on top of that, I end up taking out the combat engineers to bring in the trench buster and the trencher infantry. I think that math works out right. Did I do that right? Trencher engineers are 6. No, they're 5 and 10. Yeah. I might have cheated.
You jerk.
So I think I might be playing like a whole 5 points up on Ethan here. So that's something. But maybe next time I'll pay more attention to my points instead of trying to pretend that war room's lying to me.
And then for my sideboard, since I won the first game, I decided it'd be better just to keep my list as is. I really want the Void in there, but it not being friendly faction kind of hurts me, and I don't really need the extra armor cracking. So I decided just to play with my list as is, actually play 25 points, and then try and see how game 2 goes. And then if I need to make adjustments, if there's a game 3, go from there.
So you can see the scenery's changed a little bit. We now no longer have the 8-foot wide table or the other mat. We just kind of got things back to where they kind of were, because this was maybe, like we said, maybe a 2 or 3 week lag between games. So this one happened just recently today, and clearly it seems like it doesn't matter because I am playing 5 points up on Ethan in this game, and I feel terrible for that. I would have had to really configure or change the way my list worked in order to make those points shake out, but I think when I was messing with things in War Room, I wasn't trusting the specialists setup they had, so I was like, nah, this is probably right. So I just ran with it, and I should have just realized what I had done. But with me taking first turn, Ethan's keeping me on this side, and it's not really a big deal to me because everything in my army for the most part has Pathfinder. And I'm not too worried about the awkward terrain or anything like that. And now that I've got these trenchers that now have countermeasures on them, and then I believe I put admonition on the Ironclad, they can go up and try and stop Ethan from clearing them off. And now I've got 6 bodies to contest that flag instead of the 1 that I would have normally had.
So now, I gotta try and deal with countermeasures near my zone, and I'm, again, trying to respect Brian's threat ranges on his guns, just to make sure I don't lose stuff bottom 1, and I really don't, because last game, when we played, his trencher gun team went to work top of 2 when they mini-feed. They did so much damage to my jacks at dice -5, dice -4, they were just beating them up. The poor lights, you double tapped one of the lights, and I think left it on half boxes.
Yeah, they were those trencher express team ate their Wheaties.
So I'm just going up, putting up all my upkeeps, or I'm doing the Corollary first, just so I can try and get where I need to put up my spells. The Locus is going and shooting, boosting a shot into one of the trenchers, hits, and then I conveniently forget it has Dispel. So countermeasures is still up and is still a problem, even though it shouldn't be. And then I'm just going to be moving up my jacks, and that gets me a Road to War move with my Assimilator. So now my Assimilator, I believe, is in walk ground pounder range to catch a couple of them. And then I'm just trying to respect on the top side with the Angels, so I'm just putting them in the forest outside aim range. And I believe, it had been so long since we played, I forgot they had Prowl. So, I didn't need to worry about the gun. I needed to worry about Karli. Then moving up the other angel behind the wall, again, like I did last game because it's been a couple weeks.
Yep.
And then just kind of running up the board, staying outside of his threat ranges if he feats, just so that way I can at least be a little bit aggressive for next turn and leverage my run jackhammer threats. Because I was able to do that first game, it's just I came up short on his caster, so I don't think he's going to give me another chance at his caster, but he might give me a chance to run in jackhammer's jacks off the table. And now I'm just doing my walk, and I'm going to be ground pounding, so I have a line around the woods to a tip of it, and I believe I'm going to catch 3 dudes.
Yeah, I think it's 3 trenchers that you end up catching on this one, and I think one of them... Oh, never mind. The other guy died. He didn't tough, so I've got that going for me at least, and I kind of forgot how good Ground Pounder was, so I didn't space these out so well, but I at least has made it so that Ethan isn't running up his jack right away, which is kind of one of the things that I would like to mitigate in this game, because I still threat pretty far, and if I can keep him out of this zone for a long time, I feel okay with my trade here.
Mm-hmm. And I'm only wrap 5, so I believe I
think you missed both of them. Missed 2 of them, killed 1, and then I toughed.
Yep. So effectively, I got nothing out of it because he has Rise, and then just basically moving up and finishing my turn.
So going into turn 2, it doesn't look like I have any real long bomb charges or anything that I can try and get off here. So I have to make a choice on if I want... I need to make the choice of, do I feat now and get this diffuser that's in the circle zone in hopes that I can try and just keep Ethan out of this zone so that when turn 3 comes around, I'm able to try and score it a little better. And, thinking about the way Kraye's feat works, it's nice to get that defense debuff, especially if I were going into Ethan's feat. But the +2 beacon is only good for so long, like it has a shelf life. And I figure that my goal then this turn is probably going to be just going ahead and feeding so I can get the diffuser and just take something off, or mitigator, sorry, and take something off the table right away. So the Master Gunner walks up to the flag and it gives the battery assault or whatever the rule is to Karli's express team, and their goal is to try and get rid of some of these angels that are stealthy. So I think we first start off with Karli trying to drift some shots onto the angels, and we might clip one of them in that. Or no, in the first one we drift way off. It was like 3 to the 6, and it just didn't go where it needed to. So we stop there and then go into the angel behind the wall. And since we have Hunter from Karli, we're able to get that off of there too. And then I think I might have put a shot into the diffuser just to make the job a little bit easier. Kraye then goes up, and I think this is where we probably also forgot the rules for the angels, saying that they forgetting that they had oh no, I was shooting Kraye into a jack. We didn't forget that they had prowl. So Kraye went up, popped some shots into that thing too, and now we're unpacking our feated, fully loaded Ironclad into this diffuser. It's probably a little bit overkill, but this way I'm just making sure that I'm able to get it off the table without any real issues at all. So we crack it for a good amount of damage on the first charge, and then after that it's just, this is a big old heavy going into a Convergence light. I think we end up having like 1 or 2 focus left over after killing it. And then I get to Repo 5. For those of you who are the Mark II hanger-ons, Kraye's Field Marshal used to be that he made light jacks essentially light cav, and then heavy jacks were regular cavalry, so they could only reposition 3 inches. But now with his Field Marshal or Easy Rider or whatever it's called, all the jacks, whether they're heavy or light, get to Repo 5. So this was a nice way for me to put some extra distance between me and Ethan. Again, kind of still doing the same thing that I was before, where I'm able to charge in, get something off the table, repo away, and use the Trencher Express team to try and thunderbolt some things out of the way. So next up, we walk with the Trenchers to try and do some shots to get some of the support pieces that Ethan has. I put a 2-man CRA into the Optifex Directive that was on the Assimilator, and they missed. But then the one lone guy who went after the Optifex on the Inverter ended up cracking it and taking him off the table, which is really good for me because that Inverter's got I think it's got something out.
It took red line damage.
Gotcha.
So him killing my Optifix on the Inverter is sad because now I need to walk up the next one. Luckily, I hit it behind the cloud, so it's in walk range to get a Pathfinder because I really want to go in on his heavy just to try, because he took out my light, and I'm like, okay, that's fine with me. I'm not in walk range, so I have to charge, which is fine thanks to free red line charges. So I just need to figure out where I'm going to allocate focus because I need to allocate one out there just because of the way my focus jumped around turn 1. I wasn't able to jump it back to the Corollary. Like, I misplaced, so the focus didn't jump back. So Corollary goes, gets a focus from activating nearby, kicks 3 over, and then I'm going to be trying to figure out how to clear the bottom because countermeasures is still up, so I can't just ground pounder and clear it, even though I should.
Here's with Ethan coming in with that Inverter, I'm kind of figuring out where my admonition move is wanting to go with my Ironclad. So I decided to back him up by the wall, and in hopes that he can kind of survive a little bit better out there.
Mm-hmm. And I knew he was going to add more away, so I charged the other Jack. My hope is with the charge, I can kill it and then jump over. But again, like here, we got into it. I was like, I got a free charge, but I'm like, shit, I'm only mat 5. I need the boost to hit so I don't miss the macro pummeler. So now that costs me an attack. So
and I feel like the macro pummeler, wasn't this the one that missed, though?
No, this one hit because I boosted it.
Gotcha.
After the first game, I was not going to deal with that. So now, because I had to boost the hit because I didn't have Engine of Destruction, I don't have... Like, it's not dead, so I don't get to Road to War. And you can't Road to War off of jackhammers. It has to be an activation. So now I'm placing where I need to go with the ADO. So that way, when I do get a kill, the Jack can shift over and I can continue the jackhammer train. And it gets a little wonky because I need to stay engaged with the first Jack, so I couldn't go the full distance over. So now I'm trying to see if I'm in range to walk, which I am with this bottom Jack. I hit the unboosted 8. It does not tough, so that gets me my Road to War move. Luckily, otherwise, like, I was running kind of low on what I could do over there.
Well, and I think when you were talking about this during our game, one of your hopes was that you were able to use a Road to War to get this guy into combat deeper, the Assimilator deeper into combat with those trenchers, but it just didn't work out that way.
Yep. So now, going for the jackhammers, finishing off the knockdown Jack. It takes a couple extra attacks than what it should have. So now I'm just starting the jackhammer because I put up... now I'm putting up Engine of Destruction just to make sure I can hit. And I believe I have enough focus for 2 more jackhammers. And then with Precision Strike, I'm able to strip its cortex out at least. So, like, it's not dead, but it has no focus, and Locke's going to be feeding.
Yeah, so that means that I would need to start looking at boosting hits at some point or boosting damage rolls because of your armor. But with me not having exactly my cortex on that Ironclad, it's going to be a little bit more of a tough call for him to take out that Inverter.
Mm-hmm. And Locke's planning on moving up, so that's why I feed just in case Kraye comes up. I'm walking up so I can spray my own Jack in the back to hit that trencher that's on the contesting my flag. And I line it up. And then I'm like, I just walked in the countermeasure range of this guy, so now I can't spray and I can't clear off my flag. So now I cannot score my flag this turn.
Yep, and you needed to be here for jackhammers, and that's why you didn't want to move out of it.
No, I just needed literally to get range 6 because my sprays are only spray 6.
Gotcha.
And I can walk the Frustum to the flag and shoot because of countermeasure. Because, again, like, we didn't know till after the game that had Dispel, just because it's been so long since I played one. And now the Angels are going. They're just charging in. 1 charges, 1 runs to engage Karli just to stop her from doing stuff and affecting the table. The charge, I believe, forces a tough on the gunner and kills.
Yeah, the gunner goes away, which is really unfortunate. He's kind of the big reason to take this unit. So I've lost my Hammersmith, and I've lost my gunner. So those are two really big pieces that I wanted to try and hang on to, but it just didn't work out the way I wanted. I figured I was going to lose the Hammersmith, but I didn't expect to lose the Express Team gunner as well. So what I need to try and figure out this turn is how to deal with this inverter that's in the middle of the table, given the limited amount of resources that I have. There are some things that I might try and like dig super deep in for, like maybe with Karli having a POW 12 trench knife that I could possibly get a charge on with that and to do some damage, because like the inverter doesn't have any power tokens on it from or accumulation tokens from Locke's feat. So if I can try and do that without having to use focus, then that's where I want to be, so I don't end up giving it extra bonuses to its armor and defense. I did fully load my charger in hopes that, you know, he can go off and do something too. So this is where I'm trying to figure out how to get something into combat with Karli to try and free her and the spotter up, and but these angels are just kind of hanging around, and I can't. There's nothing that I quite have that can fit in there and take care of them. I thought about trying to do it with like the trench buster, but he would end up taking a free strike from the inverter and surely die. So and Kraye can't fit in there because he's got a larger base and only 1-inch melee, so he can't quite get reach to it. So I think what I end up doing here is I decide to try and take like a Hail Mary shot with the Trencher Master Gunner. Maybe something else is
Kraye
going into
aimed
the...
and shot.
Oh, Kraye shot for the... did he shoot off the angels then?
Yep,
Maybe
he shot off one
I'm
of
sitting
them.
far away from my computer screen, so I couldn't quite see what was going on. So Kraye did shoot, took one of the angels off, and then repoed back over. And I think we might have taken the second shot into that angel and missed. And now this is where the Master Gunner is going, and he's aiming to use a spray to get rid of that angel. He needs, I think, an 8 to hit. But this is like me going deep into the tank for it. So the angel comes off, which I'm very happy for. It wasn't likely that the Master Gunner was going to do that. But and I, of course, I lose my my battery assault special or action, and that just means Karli can't double tap, but she's going to be charging anyways, so I didn't feel like it was a big deal. So now the Ironclad goes and starts taking some shots at this inverter, and we do a decent amount of damage to it. Not enough to like take out a couple columns, but we at least got one and maybe some damage in another one. So now we're going in with Karli and the spotter. He's at least got a POW 10 trench knife, and you know, boosted POW 10 might actually do something. He's only armor 19.
Yes.
So they both charge in, and I think Karli actually does a decent amount of work here, and even the Trencher spotter gets a couple damage in as well. But the big thing we're going to get out of this is the Trench Buster that should not be in this list right now goes in on the inverter, and we get the assault shot, do some work, and I don't kill anything of mine, which is really nice. And now we get all these Weapon Master attacks. So we've got two POW 12 Weapon Masters. One of them's a charge, and the Trench Buster actually does quite a bit of work to this inverter, enough to rip it off the table. So this is me being really like not happy about not doing the math right, because if it weren't for that Trench Buster, that inverter would still be alive, or he would need to be taken out by the charger. So I feel bad about not doing the points right, but you know, this is the game we played, I guess.
Yeah, as soon as you killed it, you pretty much just won.
Yeah, because now the trenchers are going into tying up the assimilator, and I think one of the other trenchers went in to try and deal with some support somewhere, or maybe they just ran to be in annoying contest range or something like that. And then the charger, instead of actually doing work, decides to just run to be a really far deep contester on that flag.
Yeah, so Brian scored the circle and the square, and I've yet to score points, so he's up 3-0 because I didn't get to score my flag last turn because of countermeasures. And now my inverter's dead, so I have no way of winning the middle. So, like, I'm deep in the tank of, like, okay, I need a corollary to walk, punch, kill this guy, and then Road to War like into the square just to at least contest. He hits the headbutt, and then at POW 6 doesn't break armor.
Yeah.
So I forgot it's a little POW 6 bash.
Yeah, the headbutt from the Corollary doesn't quite get through that Cygnar grit.
I rolled a 7, so I just matched armor. Now Locke is just figuring out what she needs to do. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a free strike because I need to kill this Lancer. But I haven't jackhammered yet, or haven't Engine of Destruction yet, so I have to boost the first attack. Dice -4, Weapon Master. I believe I'm able to cripple his movement, so now I don't need the boost, and I'm just going through. Even on full focus, I left it on one box.
Yeah, he got out lucky on that one for sure.
So now Locke's got to go jackhammer to kill, so I don't get a Road to War. And I think at this point, I'm trying to go through. I'm like, okay, if I even do anything with Locke, I can't get to the flag. And I believe I just kind of concede at this point.
I think so, because we start talking about like what's the math of me scoring next turn with the way things are looking right now, and we just call the game there.
Yep.
So going into game 3 now, which I feel like we don't do these very often, but Ethan seems to think it's almost every time we play Brawl Machine.
Yeah.
But I didn't change my list at all because I liked it a lot, and now I realize why I liked it a lot, because I was playing 5 points up. So unfortunately, we get into this third game where I'm cheating again because my list is good.
Yes. Strangely good. In mine, I make some changes this time because now I need more infantry clearing, so I actually take out the Mitigator, take out the Optifex Directive to get me the Void Archon. So now, not only are you playing 5 points up on me, I'm playing 3 points down because I wanted to keep the ADO in there for jackhammer threats. Because if I take that out instead of the Optifex, I'm only down 1 point. But I needed it, so now I'm playing 8 points down on you.
Well, between the two of us, if you split the difference, we're basically playing the same point level.
Yeah, sure. But at least I get to go first this game. So I finally get to go first for the first time tonight. And I'm deciding where I'm going to run the Angels to. I want to get them up as far as I can to leverage for contesting. But if I go into the woods for Prowl, I'm thinking Karli can walk to the edges. Even though she can't walk straight towards me, but if she walks like straight north, she'll get a line through the woods. So I opt to run just behind the forest just to stay safe from her. And then Corollary is running, activates so it gets a focus, and then I'm planning out where Locke's going to be next turn, just so I run to where it's going to be. I run to toe the zone, kick a focus to the Assimilator, which kicks a focus to the Inverter, and I'm just running my ADO up, and now I'm just doing all my spells just like last time. Locke charges, and then Inverter runs 12. I'm going to forget to do a red line damage until like basically the start of Brian's turn every turn, and I'm trying to figure out where the Void Archon can fly to, but I'm worried about it getting triple tapped by an express team and just dying, so I kind of run away to crisscross.
So coming to my turn 1, I think there are a couple things that I can try and do to at least, put some work in on this turn, which is always nice when you can try and get stuff done on the bottom of one. So I start doing a bunch of measuring here to see like what is going to happen with these trenchers, because now that Void Archon's in here, I'm actually quite worried about what the trenchers are going to be doing for the rest of the game, which is typically going to be dying because like for whatever reason, I have no ability to play around Void Archons. They're just like, I haven't figured out the brain space yet for being able to position a unit to where they take as minimal damage as they can from the Void Archon. And when I think about it, like as many times as I've played against them, I do feel like it's basically impossible to make it so that a Void Archon does very little.
Not while your unit actually does something on the board.
Yeah. So I decide that instead of kind of running up to position to mitigate the Void Archon, I'm like, okay, well, screw it. I'm just going to use one of these trenchers as a grenade beacon for Karli so I can take out all these angels, or at least the hope is to take all of them out. So one trencher runs off into the middle of the table, turns around, for me at least. He's facing forward towards the angels, and then the rest of the trenchers kind of hang out in the woods just to claim some cover in case Ethan starts to shoot some frustrum shots at them. Defense 15 might be a little bit harder for him to hit. And here we're kind of jiggering with the positioning on Karli here because I need to make sure that she stays in command range of the spotter because she doesn't have like that officer rule or anything, so they don't work off her command anymore. And I need to make sure that I can see my trencher. So I take my first shot, and I believe she's also tapped with the
Master Gunner.
The Master Gunner. And then this way it just gives me the ability to try and make sure that I get these. So I miss my shot, scatter a little bit, take out one angel, and I've still got some more there, but my guy's still alive too. And I get lucky on this is actually a feat shot, so maybe I didn't double tap her. I double tapped the...
No, you triple tapped her.
Oh, I triple tapped her. So I mini feated to try and get this, and I got super lucky because I rolled exactly what I needed to hit that trencher engaged in the forest and turned around. And that means that all three of the angels were gone for the small price of a trencher and a mini feat. I do think we move a little further forward in my turn, and I forget that I was shooting the trencher I keep on wanting to call that the espresso gun. I don't know why, but it's the express team. But I think I forget to shoot that one, or maybe it was too early to shoot here and I wasn't close enough. But
you were going to move on with an activation. I think I pointed at it, so you shot my assimilator 2 inches back.
Gotcha. So that makes me happy, at least that I remembered to do that, or that Ethan reminded me to do that.
With no Optifex in the list, I don't have a disposable dude that just sit behind my jack so I don't get thunderbolted around the table. So like this is going to be a problem. And he crit knocked down my jack as well, so I have to allocate one to it to shake knockdown, which luckily inducts to the Corollary, so it's not a huge loss for me. But it's still kind of annoying. And I'm debating allocating another one out, so I end up sending one to the Assimilator just because I'm going to be walking and trying to ground pounder. Basically, I want to kill that express team as fast as I can before they can just thunderbolt me and be really obnoxious. So the Frustrum shoots, kills a dude, which gets me a road to war, so I'm able to move back forward, basically to where I was before you shot me. The Corollary is going to be giving it a focus, but I just want to figure out where it can go. I'm staying outside walk range of the jack behind the woods, and I believe I'm just out of charge range of the jack that has line around the woods, but I didn't put down the widget to see if I'm outside. It's extra 2 inches, because I believe I only put down the 11-inch stick when it threatens 13 for the feet. So now I'm just going around, measuring the max 11, because I'm going to be ground pounding to try and catch the express team, the sergeant, and Kraye. I'm boosting on the 2 express team models just to hit them. Luckily I hit both, inducting back to the Corollary, and I believe I inducted one back to the Inverter. I boost on the Troll just because it has boxes. I believe I kill and you don't tough.
Yeah, my tough checks have not been doing super hot here, so I'm sorry, you were shooting the trencher gunner, right?
Yes.
So I think the first time you shoot the gunner, he does tough. So I have 1 box left on him.
Oh, yep. So I'm debating if I need to road to war anywhere, and I was like, well, I can't put my Corollary up. So I opt not to road to war. There, I'm just moving up outside the walk range of there, and I'm like, okay, if he wants to charge in with his feet, he can get on the Inverter, but I'm going to feet just to be a little bit more safe, just in case. That way I can set the line, because if he doesn't feat, then I'm getting into him next turn, just because I basically threaten the whole zone with Red Line and Road to War. Void runs over just to make sure I can clear the trenchers off my flag once they come in, and I'm just running the ADO behind my Assimilator to make sure he can't Thunderbolt it out of the zone trivially.
So coming around to the top of 2, I think I'm in a decent spot for being able to start scoring the scenario pretty well. Ethan hasn't super committed to the zone, and having that Thunderbolt shot, even though my mini feat's gone to kind of triple tap, means that I can still do some things to kind of push stuff around, and I've got the shots to be able to carve out a lot of these things that are kind of stopping me from being able to do so. But I'm thinking about like what's my allocation going to look like. I decide that I'm only going to be allocating to the Hammersmith, and we're just going to load it up fully. So now I'm just trying to do some math to figure out, like, what do I need to actually hit here in order to get things moving the way I need to. And I think the thing with Kraye that's kind of interesting is just for someone like me who doesn't play Cygnar very often, I always have to keep doing the math on his charges, and then I'm just like, are we sure this is the right number? Because that's pretty dang far. So I feat with Kraye. I move him up, and he's going to be shooting into that ADO. He just wanted to get into the woods to be able to see around the Assimilator and get the ADO out of there. We also shot the Inverter so that we could get Beacon out on that. So I think, I can't tell if you pulled the ADO away, if I actually hit it and killed it right here.
Yeah, you boosted the hit, you boosted damage because it was dice -4 or dice -3 thanks to Iron Sentinel. So that get my 2 tokens on the Inverter.
So now I've repositioned Kraye out a little bit further to just be safe from some of the long ranges that Ethan has for threats. Unfortunately, what that's done for me is put my charger out of control. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what's the next thing that I do here? Is there anything I need to do before I get into the Inverter? And I feel like there might have been. Oh no! Now I'm trying to figure out, like, what things are out here that can kind of get Beacon out into other places, because I feel like I wanted Beacon on the Corollary over here. And maybe the Inverter needed Beacon too, and I missed or something with Kraye.
You did miss, because you couldn't
I
boost.
rolled double ones.
Yep.
So we decided to go with giving a press forward order to the trenchers, and then 2 shot the Frustum, didn't really do anything, but then the other 2 shot the Corollary and the Inverter, and they both hit. So we got Beacon on both of those in case we need it for the Corollary, but mostly it's going to be there for the Inverter. So it was nice to have those as a nice little option for being able to get extra beacons out. So now I'm using the trencher express team to move up and just try and deal with this Assimilator a little bit. We're kind of bullying it by pushing it out of the zone. I only get 1 inch on it with that shot, but it's enough to get it out of the zone. So I think Karli might have taken a shot at him too, just to get some extra damage on it, or maybe even the Corollary, I think, might have been what she shot at.
I think she shot the Corollary.
Yep, so we did a little bit of damage on him there as well. Next up, we have the Hammersmith. It's time to unpack him. And I think for a while I was kind of messing with the trencher, the trench buster, because I was thinking he might be able to beacon something, but it was going to get in the way of the Hammersmith. So we have beat back on the Hammersmith, so we're pushing this Inverter out even further from the zone, and I'm trying to get to the point where I'm on the Corollary, and I go in with my next attack, and this is where I'm really just like trying to make a decision for myself, because I could boost to get the to make sure that I can do the chain attack smite, and I opt to not do that, and I hit without boosting and beat back again. I beat back, and then I get to do my chain attack smite. So I end up pushing the Inverter out 2 or 3 inches, something like that.
You pushed it twice with beatback, and then you slammed it 2 inches.
Yeah, 2 inches for the slam.
And now the beatback got you melee range of the corollary.
Yep, and I had forgotten, didn't forget, but I didn't realize that the Hammersmith had follow-up and that it worked with the smite on him as well. So I could have maybe followed up further to get into Locke, but Ethan's camping 3, and with feet up, that's when you'd start putting tokens on her. So now with me going into the corollary, which I don't think Ethan expected right away, because I don't think you've played against a Hammersmith in like 7 years or something like that.
I forgot it had beatback.
And I kind of forgot it had it until I started activating it, so there's that. So you opt to not put tokens on the corollary because you figure I'm just going to get it anyways, especially after we remember that beacon is on him too, so it makes it really easy for me to hit. Flare, sorry. So I end up taking it out and having a single focus left. So now Corollary's gone, the Inverter's far out of the zone, and then I decide to use the repo move on the Hammersmith, and this is maybe a bit of a mistake on my part. I decide to engage both the Void Archon and the Inverter. It was like, I figured this way I could tie the Archon down and not have to worry about it, but walking into Dark Shroud range is not the smartest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
So Brian contested my flag, scored his flag, scored the circle, scored the rectangle, so he just went up 3-0, which is in a very, very not good time for me. I take my sentry shot, it misses, and then it drifts into, I believe, the master.
Yeah, the gunner.
The gunner, and I was like,
and Kraye.
And I was like, okay, it's on one box, maybe I can kill it, don't break armor. And now I'm stuck in this weird point, like my corollary is gone, so now I've lost all focus efficiency. So, and it's worth noting, when he was punching the Inverter, he took out the Meteor Hammer, so I can't even jackhammer to clear him off because I would only get one macro pummeler attack, so basically Locke has to repair him, but if I repair him, I'm not going to be up far enough to jackhammer the Assimilator into the other jack to ensure it dies. So I opt to load up the Assimilator for 3 because no power-ups in Convergence, and I'm trying to figure out what I can do on the bottom just to do some stuff. So I opt to go...
I think you had your Frustum shoot and hit the trencher, and I toughed.
Yep. So I was like, I'll just do the easiest thing first. So we realized you didn't upkeep countermeasures, and I believe I noted this turn. I was like, oh yeah, I have Dispel. So don't even get a Road the War move there. So I opt to just activate the Inverter, and I just hard roll the macro pummeler without Engine of Destruction. So I hit, needing a 6.
Yeah, their defense 11.
So I needed a 6. I hit, knock it down, and then I take an attack with my broken arm. At dice +4, thanks to Dark Shroud and Redline, I do some extra damage. But now I'm just debating and counting out my focus, because I'd like to cycle Redline to the Assimilator. And there's my damage from Redline. I repair him. I only roll a 1, but it's still D3 +1, so I get him fully operational. Locke goes, starts jackhammering, and I believe it takes me 2 jackhammers. Yes, it took me 2 jackhammers just because I didn't roll that great at dice +4. And now I swap Redline to the Assimilator. I'm having the Void go. He charges, he uses a spray, boost to hit the front one, auto kills. Not Snakes hits the second one, auto kills. I get their souls, teleport to behind them, and now I'm trying to kill the Lancer. So I boost the hit the first one just to make sure I hit, boost damage, roll okay, but not to a good column. Take my second initial, hit, boost damage, roll terribly. So I haven't even crippled anything on the Lancer. Assimilator goes, POW 16 Weapon Master, charges for free. But I did not get to put up Engine of Destruction because of how many jackhammers it took. So I boost the first one. I boost the charge so that way I can cripple the movement with Precision Strike. And now I'm just buying attacks that need Not Snakes. And they're rolling okay for damage. But with only having one melee initial and then effectively 2 bot attacks because I had to boost the charge, I'm not going to kill it, and I'm debating where am I going to put the precision strike because the movement didn't do enough extra damage to the column, so now I'm going for the Cortex, and I don't roll enough to take it out.
So at this point, we're sitting at 2-0 because I think the circle zone I couldn't score on turn 2 because I didn't have enough things in it.
Yeah, your trenchers weren't all in it.
Yeah, but everything from Ethan's last turn was contested. You scored 1 from your flag from your Frustum. So if I can score 3 points this turn, I end up taking this one out, and if I contest your flag too, or if I don't contest your flag and just score 3. So I decide to fully load up that Ironclad to go into the Assimilator because at current it's the only thing that's in that in the center of the table that is causing the zone to be contested. So the Ironclad ends up doing quite a bit of work, but doesn't quite get enough to kill it. So now I have to start unpacking all my little solos and stuff in here to take care of it. So the Trench Buster leaves it on 3 boxes, and then a charge, or not a charge from Karli, but Karli and the Gunner are walking around to try and punch it in the butt, and they end up shaving off a couple points on it, leaving it on 1. And then for whatever reason, I was just really like stuck in my head of like Kraye's gonna go up and shoot into there and just see if I can boost him that way. And I'm like, I can just walk and punch him. I think it was because I was worried about line of sight, but I just go in there and start boosting melee attacks, and I get it pretty easy and overkill. So now I've scored my 3 points to go to 5. Ethan's gone to 2.
I would go to 2, but all you have to do is run a trencher to contest my flags. I'm not engaging one of them.
Yeah, so that ends the game. Unfortunately, I don't know if I would have. I'm not 100% sure if I would have been able to win those games without the Trench Buster. I think in game 2, I probably could have done so by just having the charger go in, but then it would have been you would have scored the flag instead of you scored the flag anyways. So if the charger goes in, or the Lancer, goes in instead of the Trench Buster, that gets a little dicey, but probably could still kill the Inverter. And then in this game, Kraye was all I really needed to get the last bit of that Assimilator out. So I'm not trying to be like I cheated, but it doesn't matter. But I think that the Trench Buster's presence maybe might not have been as game breaking at that 5 extra points as if he weren't there. And maybe I'm just trying to like justify my not being a rude piece of poop, but you know, it feels bad when you do that to someone, especially in Warmachine where every little point matters. And you know, I unfortunately did a bad there and won both my games with 5 extra points on the table.
I mean, I lost more because of my own mistakes too. Like game 2, if I would have remembered Dispel on the gun, then all of a sudden I trivially scored the bottom zone because I had to work around countermeasure, and countermeasure stopped me from spraying. It stopped me from ground pounding, so like I could not physically score my flag while it was up. And like I believe we also, like, I forgot the feat stripped upkeeps too, so like I double forgot both of my upkeep hate. So like that cost me game 2. And then game 3, giving you my Angels top of 1 with you just running a trencher, shooting it in the butt, and then killing my Angels with barely even needing to roll. Like you just killed them on 7s.
Yeah.
Thanks to blast damage because it's POW 7. And I'm armor. No, you kill on 6s.
I kill them on 5s, right? Oh, 6s, yeah, because a 5 will mean.
Because I'm only armor 12. And it's just like, well, there goes. As soon as you did that, I lost any real ability to contest your flag. So like, I was already snowballing down turn 1. So like that was not good. And then the game just kind of devolved from there of just rolling away from me.
Yeah, and not to like roll back into things that I missed talking about that I wanted to touch on. In game 2, when Kraye feeded, it was really unfortunate the positioning that I had left him in, because it left my Lancer out of feat range. And after doing some math and measuring it out, the Lancer from way back on the other side of the table would have been able to charge onto that Frustum and take that out. So there was just even more pressure to put on with that. Like, Kraye is probably a caster that I think a lot of Cygnar players wish they could play more, but in Brawl Machine I feel like he works out pretty well. There are less things that you need to worry about, so you can kind of pick and choose between whether you want to have countermeasures out or you want to have lock the target do work for you, because I think in the first game I might have locked the target on the Inverter a few times. Not that it mattered a bunch against you because you had such a long threat with the walk anyways, but in a lot of other games with that Lancer, that could be a really big deal in the Brawl Machine to just kind of take a model completely out. And then with the feet plus beacon, or the feet plus Iron Horse is a 5-inch extender on all your stuff, and you get a 5-inch reposition. So if you're bringing reach heavies, you're definitely staying out of a lot of Warjack's walk punch range with lock the target on them. So I think Kraye's got a lot of game in Brawl Machine. He's a little he is a little resource strapped, and I think he really does suffer from Cygnar's Warjacks not being really all that amazing. But I felt like this list played really well, and I had a fun time with it. It was nice to be able to do something with a caster that I've definitely been attracted to for a long time, and just never really had much of a reason to put on the table at 75 points.
Yeah, Kraye is pretty good at brawl levels. Like, he's got a bunch of answers, he can do a bunch of cool stuff, but he is really focus strapped. Like, most of these turns you were camping 0. Game 1 I tried to capitalize on it by going for your caster and like missing 4 out of 6 attacks, or 3 out of 5, missing 3 out of 5 attacks on your caster at mat 9 was just bad. But then, like, with you did get a lock the target game 1 that we forgot to mention, but I was able to just walk and punch, and I had like the tools with my running and jackhammering to kind of go through, but mat 5 was really screwing me, so I had to Engine of Destruction. And then like game 3, when you took the Corollary, I couldn't even do both. So like, I think Kraye has some game. It's just, like you said, allocating what you want to do each turn. And like, he wants to play entrenchers for good infantry, but then like he doesn't get the Squire, so like that's a trade-off. Otherwise, he can play in heavy metal, just not have any really good infantry.
You're just bringing precursors at that point, and they're so expensive. And that's one of the things that makes the trencher part good, is like you get the Express team, which is a really great package on its own to just kind of do a lot of work for not a lot of points. Actually, like very few points because they're a rec option. But the in heavy metal, it's like you just get your precursors to run around and run screens, whereas like the trenchers, they actually help you do what you want to do, because if you are running out of options for getting those beacon flares out on feet turn, they can do that, and they can do it reliably by just having a couple CRAs here and there. I think that trenchers is where he likes to be, but like you said, he just doesn't get the resources that he wants to have access to.
And countermeasures was such a good spell. Like, if I didn't actually have an answer, like we played it like I didn't have an answer, like it was really ruining my day on tough infantry that just has rise. So like every attack that doesn't kill just feels wasted.
And that's like, the only times I've ever interacted with countermeasures was when it was on like some kind of stealth thing. So like you could do it with commandos if you wanted to in this type of list, and it would still be pretty nasty. But the just having them on the trenchers alone was fine too, because they're cheap. Your opponent doesn't want to have to do anything with them, but they have to do something with them because of countermeasures. And if you don't need countermeasures, or it doesn't do anything for you, it means that you get to use lock the target and admonition all the time instead, which is another spell that's really good for him in Brawl, because he can only bring so few jacks, and having the ability to just like say, I'm drawing the line in the sand here, if you charge this jack, I'm going to admo away, and then I'll be able to take it out anyways, and if you don't charge that and just try to stay out of my threat, you give up the center of the table.
Yeah, like he's just got such a good package, and I enjoyed playing Locke in Brawl. Like, not being able to spam multiple of the jacks was kind of rough, and like the game plan does really hinge around your Corollary. If you lose your Corollary, like I did game 3, like it instantly goes to shit, and like you really need that to keep the ball rolling. But I think it was going, like it could have gone better for me, and I think Locke's still a lot of fun in Brawl. It's just like also her feet there was one of the rounds where I only got like 2 tokens because you just had such a limited things that actually were using focus each turn.
Yeah, you kind of made the choice for me by taking out my cortexes.
Yeah. So like I feat and it's just like, okay. But like if you're playing like hordes or a slightly bigger battle group, like the feat might be more relevant, but that's the hit or miss of the feat in Brawl. Just because like if you're trying to maximize infantry, you're going to be running a smaller battle group just so you have more scoring elements. But if they're running a big battle group, it's a really good feat. And you just can leverage your threats. Like the jackhammer threat is always live for assassination, but only having one arc node in the list because of Brawl is really, really rough because like you got to protect that all game. Like there, each round I was like, okay, it's time to throw up my ADO and then lose offensive jackhammers without Locke going up and being afraid.
Yeah, I think not to poo-poo on Locke a little bit from this game, but it seems like in Crucible Guard she feels better now, at least after CID, than she does in Convergence. I think it might have been the other way around before. And the issue, at least for me, with Locke right now in Crucible Guard or Convergence is that not having Engine of Destruction on her really makes it seem like you are really playing down. Like, it almost seems like you need to have it on her all the time to make sure your jacks can reliably hit.
Yeah, like, that's why you play her in Convergence for Engine of Destruction, but the fact that, like, your jacks can't reliably activate before her is rough.
Yeah, like, she has to go first.
Mm-hmm. So, like, they can't really clear themselves off.
And then you've got the jackhammer issue.
Yep. And, like, I don't want her going first because I want the jacks in, and then, like, if... Even against his Def 12 heavies, like, I missed macro pummelers twice, and, like, it was really, really, really frustrating.
Yeah, almost like you'd want, like, the beacon diffuser with her to try and help start that out so you don't have to worry about it too much. But then, you know, in Brawl Machine, your support comes at a very hefty cost, you know?
Yep, and, like, I could have taken Servitors, but then, like, that's still eating up a lot of points in Brawl, even though luckily you still get the full 3 of them. I guess, like, I haven't played Servitors, actually paid for them since the Oblivion nerfs, and the only times I've taken them was when a Prime Axiom's pooping went out for free for me.
Yeah, it's hard to buy them. I think there was the Axis game we played where I was the Convergence player, and I brought a full unit of the Beacon Servitors, and that felt pretty good. I enjoyed having them for Brawl just because it was 3 solos for the price of 1 card.
No, and that's fair. Maybe I could have fit them in somehow. It's just like I was already on support bloat with the ADO, the Optifex. I could have cut out the Angels, but I really needed a contest piece. And I feel like in Clockwork, like, that's your contest piece is the Angels. But the Servitors could have filled that role. It's just they're not as fast.
And not as survivable either. I mean, like, the Angels are really hard to get rid of. It's just that I like some poor positioning on your part, and some of the tools I brought were kind of really like scalpeling them out.
Yeah, when your Express team just needs boosted 8s, and they get the free boost because when they're aiming,
rangefinder.
Yep, or they rangefinder and walk just needing 10s. Like, that's a pretty good coin flip in your favor. And like Karli's AOE gun just trivially kills them on 6s.
Yeah, having the ability to triple tap that thing in this list is really nice for being able to deal with that. It's just like I think of all the things in the list that really pull more than their weight, like they kind of the list rests on their shoulders, is probably the Express team with Karli and the Master Gunner.
Yeah, they did so much work over 3 rounds, and I didn't have an answer for them.
Yeah.
Like, I could not reach out and touch them because they AD. They threatened my advanced deployment top of 1. So I have to deploy back, and if there's not good terrain in the middle, like, there's a wall in the middle in our game, but they have Hunters, so that doesn't help me at all.
Yep, and they were able to walk around the forest because of the way the scenario was set up. I hope you all enjoyed watching. This was a little bit of a long one, but we had some pretty grindy games in this here, but we're happy to be, you know, throwing out another battle report for you, and we hope to kind of get a little bit more regular in the near future. But of course, there's so many things happening around both of us right now that you know, the regularity of games gets a little disrupted. So bear with us if there happens to be a big break in between them. We're still here, we're still playing Warmachine, and we hope you stick around for our next one.